Say that again.
Probably not. Which like a plastic cup or they call it sound cup?
Yes. Oh,
That's
whichever.
It's a bigger. Oh, yeah, bigger.
Anyway, so I think that's why we're. Let me just get the.
Triple cast even better.
Don't tell me. It's bourbon, right? Don't tell me.
Yeah, it's bourbon, and bourbon.
Bourbon's one of them.
Good. Don't tell me what the others are.
You've got pure bourbon casks and traditional whiskey casks.
You tell me if it's kosher or not.
It's kosher, I'll tell you now.
Okay, good. So give it to me.
I haven't been a kosher.
It's been a long day. How with hindsight, okay. So we're on page 323. We're going to see how we quickly can get through this.
I have to get rid of some of my whiskey because otherwise I'll end up like that.
Where are all our Zoom friends? I've got Darren here. Hello, Darren. But I'm wondering where all our Zoom friends are. They're all at the meeting to discuss whether we're going to have you on around this year. L'chaim. You know, I realized over a year ago, we've been learning over a year together.
Really?
Because I joined in July. Do you remember? You probably don't remember much of July last year. All stuck at home.
I know.
Sorry. You destroyed the house, and that's why you had to. Right, and then to my horror, when I realized that there wasn't a virtual background, it was actually your Mickey. It was actually Mickey Mouse. Yeah, exactly. Horrifying. Wonderful. Ori was very happy. Well, no, I can't. But I'm starting again from scratch. I'm an honest. Anyone who has any old Sfarim, I'd love to have them. Keep that in mind. Okay. We said we're on page 323. So we finished the previous chapter discussing about the Zmanim of Tefillah. And today we're going to be talking about different types of hachana, preparation for Tefillah. So let's just start, why not? With relieving oneself before praying. Okay. Very exciting topic. But nonetheless, Torahi, it's still Torah, and it's discussed in halacha about one who needs to go to the bathroom before davening. So Gemara, on page 323, source 1. This is the Gemara and Brachot, Daf Kaf Gimel Amud Aleph. Tan Rabbanan, our rabbis taught us, Hanitzrachin Kavav, somebody who needs to be excused. Al Yitz Palel is not allowed to daven. But the Gemara goes further than that and says, Im Hitz Palel, if somebody does, Tfilatot Ha'eva. Somebody who davens in such a manner is tefillah is called an abomination. Why? Why to'eva? The idea is that somebody can't have quite kavanah if they're thinking, obviously they have needs and they need to go to the bathroom. That's not the right form to daven to Hashem. Amar Rav Zvid v'itam Rav Yehuda. So Rav Zvid, or alternatively Rav Yehuda says, Lo shanu elo she'enu yachal lishhot ba'atzmo. This only applies where somebody's not able lishhot ba'atzmo. Tradition means you can't. How they translate it? Restrain. Okay, restrain oneself. They can't wait to go to the bathroom. Person's able to wait, then his tefillah is still considered a tefillah. Okay, so what does this mean, lishhot? How long, basically? Va'ad kama, so this is Gemara's next question, a bit graphic, but whatever. Va'ad kama, how long? How long does a person need to be able to hold on for? Amar Rav Sheshes says, Rav Sheshes, ad parsa. The amount of time it takes to walk a parsa. How much is a parsa? Parsa is 4 mil. How much is a mil? 2,000 amot. So 8,000 amot is a parsa. So almost 8 kilometers.
4 kilometers.
Sorry, almost 4 kilometers. What did I say? Yes, thank you. A mil is about almost a kilometer, so almost 8 kilometers. So in halacha, a parsa, we say, ironically, despite the fact it would be about 50 minutes, we say it's 72 minutes. We say the time it takes to walk a mil is 18 minutes. So 72 minutes. So Paris, a leisurely walk, very leisurely, right? Walking with my 2-year-old and my 3-year-old.
So that means if you can't hang on for at least 70, so if you can't hang on for 72 minutes, then the tefillah is. So if you can hang on for 60 minutes,
is a to'eva.
But Mr. Burris says that you shouldn't be hanging on because it's unsafe. It's
excellent question, Michael.
So
the Gemara discusses. So not the Gemara. The Rishonim have a machloket as to what this means. What are the words va'ad kama? You see that second paragraph va'ad kama. What is that going on? Because really there were 2 statements here. One statement was you're not allowed to daven, and if you do daven when one needs the bathroom, it's a to'eva. It's an abomination. And then we said, but if a person's able to hold on, Tefillah to tefillah. It does constitute. There's a machloket here between Rashi and the other Rishonim as to what happens if you can hold on 72 minutes. Does that mean it's just not a toeva, but it's still usher to do it? But b'diavad it just works? Or is it even l'chatchila you're allowed to do it? So Rashi, unlike Mishnah Berurah, Rashi understands that really it's l'chatchila. As long as you can wait 72 minutes, it's l'chatchila. So look at Rashi over the page, source 2. Va'ad kama, how much? Yach says Rashi, Va'ad kama yachol laha'amid atzma. How long can a person restrain himself in a kavav? Shehei mutar l'chatchila b'tefillah. But you actually allowed l'chatchila to daven in this way. So Rashi understands that as long as one can wait 72 minutes, right, walk a parsa, then it's mutter even l'chatchila to daven in this way. But other Rishonim, including the Rosh, disagree. And they say, no, it's just not considered a toeva. But l'chatchila, as you said, no, it's not allowed. In source 3, Velini says the Rosh, Velini, it seems to me, afal pi diyachol la'amod al atzmo, even though a person is able to restrain himself, kivan shetzarach kavav, since a person needs the bathroom, eino mutter lechatchila. It's still not mutter lechatchila, right? Yeah. Which they pronounce. Have they translated lechatchila? Ab initio, right? As opposed to b'diavad, which is post facto, exactly. Okay, I translate lechatchila as lechatchila. Okay. Okay. So there you go. So again, just hi. I see Jeffrey's joined us. Jess joined us. Hello. So we're just on page 324 in the book. We're discussing hachanal tefillah in this chapter, the last chapter of book 10. Preparation for tefillah. The Gemara had said one is not allowed to daven if one needs the bathroom, and the Gemara had said that that's the amount of time it takes to walk a parasa, which is 4 mil, which is around, we say typically, the poskim says, around 72 minutes. Question is, what if a person can wait 72 minutes before going to the bathroom? So according to Rashi, lechatchila one's allowed to daven. According to the Rosh, it's just not a toeva, but you're still lechatchila not supposed to do it. However, as we saw, the Shulchan Aruch, as you pointed out before, Michael, the Shulchan Aruch rules like the Rosh, that even if one can wait 72 minutes, the amount of time it takes to walk a parsa, still lechatchila one shouldn't daven if you need the toilet at all. Okay, so in source 4, this is how Shulchan Aruch rules. Hayat sarich linkavav, if somebody needed to relieve oneself, al yit palel, you should not daven. If im hit palel, if a person did daven, tfilatot ha'eva v'tzarich lachzor lihit palel. Shulchan Aruch adds something important here. Not only if somebody davens when they need the bathroom, is it an abomination, it's a toeva, you actually have to re-daven. You're not yotze, you have to daven again. The honey million, this is, as we said, that's over if you can't walk a parasa, which I said is 4 mil. But if a person is able to wait, then b'diavad you are yotze. But still, like the Rosh against Rashi, first you should, basically, person should, it's funny, but a person should really assess before they go in for a long tefillah. I'm talking about Yom Naraim. Person should assess if they need to go to the bathroom first. Okay. Hagar, as the Ramah at the end of source 4, anyone who needs to relieve oneself, asur afilu b'divrei Torah. It's not only tefillah that's prohibited, it's also Talmud Torah is also asur. As long as the person needs to relieve oneself, it is asur also to learn Torah. So it's not just davening, but also Talmud Torah is asur if that person needs the bathroom. Okay, B'Seder Gamon.
Rabbi, do you think they're saying this because of unhealthy reasons or because of your kavanah?
It doesn't seem that it's health related. It does seem that it's kavanah related. The idea of to'eva doesn't seem to be health related. It seems to me it's just abominable that somebody in that state should be davening.
They'll be distracted.
But there are, but we do know that there's an issue and a separate issue called baltashaksu, as they call it, right? Not to be shkotzim, right? Not to be disgusting, right? Shkotz is just Yiddish for shekets, right? So not to be disgusting, right? And therefore there is that prohibition as well, which Michael mentioned before. But we see from here, though, basically we're on page 325, that even lechatchila, one should not daven, even if somebody can wait the amount of time it takes to walk a parasa. Okay, one should not daven because we rule like the Rosh and against the Rashi. Okay, but what about when you're, again, last time we spoke about tefillah, but tzibur is man tefillah. What if you've got a question of priorities? What if somebody can wait, but they're going to miss a minyan or they're going to miss man tefillah? So Mishnah Berurah discusses both of
So
these
can
here
wait,
in source
can't
5. Sorry?
Can wait or can't?
They can wait 72 minutes.
Okay.
So we said it's b'diavad.
So if they went to the bathroom, they'd be
But if they went to the bathroom, they missed man's filler, right?
They missed one.
Exactly. Let's see in source 5.
Very quick minion.
Sorry, 7
Must be a
o'clock.
very quick minion.
Or you're really late.
Or the start of Doving, so you
Right.
got, which is
Right, you're late for the start of davening, right? So, right. So look at source 5. Mishnah Berurah discusses these two cases.
That's it.
ואפילו אם על ידי זה שינקה את עצמו, לא יהא יוכל להתפלל עם הציבור, even if by a person relieving themselves, they won't be able to daven with a minion, אפילו הכי, even so, טוב יותר להתפלל ביחידי בגוף נקי. It's better to daven with a clean body than it is to go to the bathroom, basically, to not go to the bathroom. Okay, it's better to miss a minion. Omnam, however, if a person needs to go to the bathroom, they're going to totally miss the time of tefillah lagamre entirely. They're going to miss man tefillah, go past the 4th hour, right? They shouldn't be going for the 10 o'clock minion, but that's another issue. In that case, Hiskim Hamagen Avram Ashar Chonim, Magen Avram, the other Chonim agreed. Shemutal palel im Mashar Ba'atzma Shuchalat Shiur Shav Chomesh. As long as you can wait an hour and a fifth, i.e., 72 minutes, the time it takes to walk a parsa in a leisurely stroll, not even a stroll, leisurely walk, then it's better to do that if you're going to miss man's tefillah entirely.
So someone be
But
allowed-
again, it's not really typically. This is very hypothetical because it would mean you'll suddenly realize, 5 minutes before man tefillah passes that, oh, I need the bathroom or something like that. Otherwise, this isn't really. So I say it's a very hypothetical case, but it shows you the seder adifiyot, the priorities.
Could
What
you?
about,
Say you go
One
bathroom.
second.
So if you had
sorry,
to
I'm calling from afar, but sorry, Michael. But what about if it's a struggling minyan and they're most likely relying on you to be the minyan mensch?
this was asked the same question.
Which
Jeff,
it would-
we're on the same line here.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't daven. It seems that according to this, that I wouldn't daven.
Couldn't you attend, say, for
They could be there. but-
be there and then at least to make the minion, and then if you have to excuse yourself for a part, which is quite doesn't require minion, like over there for Kaddish and then leave, you go to the bathroom,
Right,
come back again,
correct. But it seems that you couldn't daven in that case.
but you'd be there. As like,
You'd
get
be
the
one of the
bath, you
10.
get it
You'd
as
be one of
good
the
as
10,
a
but you
yeah.
couldn't daven.
Or you could start down here, you could start down here.
Tell
and
them
leave.
when they go to long tachan and then you dive out.
Always.
Okay, always.
Radio goes on.
Some of our tachanans are never particularly long. Depends.
That's true.
The Rav Shachar said is about long tachnon. He said that he only says a third of, because like the long tachnon you can divide into 3. So if he's davening with a regular person's minion, he would only say a third of it each time, because otherwise he'd never be finished. He would keep the minion waiting for too long.
So when we get to tachan, we'll talk about tachan. Okay, very good. All right. Okay, so the Mishnah Berurah there was machalek, differentiated between two cases. It's better to daven, miss the minion, and not excuse oneself. But if the man tefillah is going to pass, then as long as one can wait shah v'chomesh, 72 minutes, then it's okay. But again, it's really hypothetical because we're dealing here, and that would be like suddenly 5 minutes before self-man tefillah, a person realizes they need the bathroom. Some other halachot here summarized by a work called the Ishei Yisrael. It's an interesting modern work which puts all sorts of different halachot together. In source 6. So let's read him inside. Is general hachanat haguf l'tfilah in source 6. Sarich lahachin et gufo l'tfilah. One must prepare one's body for prayer. Dahainu sheyivdok atzmo im sarchol in kavav. A person should check if they need to go to the bathroom. Ve'im sarich, and if one does, afshir der sheyuchal hamid atzmo lemala mishur zman shahalichat parsa shehu shivim u'shtayim dakot. Even if a person knows they can wait more than 72 minutes, lo yitpalel tfilat shmoneh esrei. You shouldn't be davening amida. Ach mutar lo. This is the important addition that he brings based on the Achronim. Mutar lo likra kriyat shema levarach et kol habrachot lilmod Torah. Okay, so he says that if a person can wait 72 minutes, they can say kriyat shema and brachot. It's just amida that this halacha applies to. Uv'diavad shitpalel kach tfilat shmoneh esrei ein lachosem mitpalel. And if a person did daven when they did need to wait, but they could wait 72 minutes, but the tefillah works. However, we said if his man tefillah is going to pass entirely, one should daven. This was all assuming a person can wait 72 minutes. Sorry. Okay, very good. Okay. All this talking about, yeah. There you go. Sorry, yeah, we said it applies to, well, if you can't wait 72 minutes. There you go.
Response.
There you go. Yud Aleph. Ve'im eino yochol lahamid atzmo shir zman shehalichat parsa. And if a person can't even wait 72 minutes, there we go. Asur lo afilu likro kriyat shema. You're not even allowed to read kriyat shema. Levarech bracha, to make any bracha, or lilmod Torah, right? You can't stay in Tzurba Shiur. Ve'afim yavor zman kriyat shema tefillah, even if the zman is going to pass. Because we will say in that case, Anas Rahmana Patre, right? The God exempts people who are Anus, that they can't help it, right? So somebody who cannot wait, they're not allowed to say Shema, even if the time for Shema is going to pass. Ideally, they shouldn't wait to the last minute to say Shema, but if they're stuck in this case, then they shouldn't say Shema. Sometimes these things happen, right? And if somebody did start their Shema, and they needed the bathroom, and they started when they weren't supposed to, they did it anyway. Chayav l'hafsik, they have to stop after emsat tefillah, even in the middle of the amida. V'diavad in himshich, but b'diavad, if he did continue, it's tefillat shmoneh esrei. Chayav l'achshal hitpal, have to daven again, because we saw that the Gemara defined somebody who can't wait. Right? It's a to'eva, and the Shulchan Aruch says you have to repeat the tefillah, and therefore, if somebody ignored it and davened anyway, they have to daven again. Of a kriyat shema shah bracha en chazav. As kriyat shema other bracha, no, because the Gemara was more explicit about amida, where Masha'en came, which is not the case with these other tefillahs. Okay. Over the page, you'd bet on page top of page 326. Im kodem shehitchil tefillat shmoneh esrei lo yisrach kava. Okay, the classic question. This is like a classic question of half. Yeah, but when I started, I didn't need, right? It's a bit of a kiddie question, but it happens, right? Top of page 326 here. Im kodem shehitchil tefillat shmoneh esrei lo yisrach kava, right? So when a person started Shemona Esrei, they didn't need to be excused. And then suddenly halfway through, they realize they do need to relieve oneself. Even if a person cannot wait 72 minutes, you don't stop in the middle. It's called Tfilat Shemona Esrei, a person should finish the silent Amida and then relieve oneself. So, whereas somebody who started Be'isr, somebody who started when they weren't allowed, has to stop. Somebody who, when they started, they didn't need to relieve themselves, but then they did, right? The Rosh Hashanah is coming up, so long Amida, right? But the Eved, as long as they started Beheter, then they're allowed to continue and finish, and then he then goes to the bathroom afterwards. Okay? That's that. Okay, I don't think too much more needs to be said on that, and I suggest any further questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to move on to something different.
I've just got a problem with the 72 minutes. I mean, that's a long time.
Right, the urologist is talking here. Okay, yeah.
Oh yes, it's a long time. Like, for
not healthy. Please give us our medical advice now. We're listening. Yep.
No. I'm saying it's perfectly healthy. I'm perfectly healthy. I'm just saying to be able to. A person to be able to judge that they can last up to 72 minutes, I mean, that's a long time. I imagine there'd be a lot of people who could say, like you say, well, I could probably wait another half an hour, and they've got a 5-minute Shema or Amidah, they can't daven. They can wait a half an hour, but they can't, but you're not allowed. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. So 72 minutes is a long time. 72
minutes, it's difficult to judge, right? This idea of 72 minutes is how it's quantified. The Gemara itself spoke about ad parsa, right? A parsa is 4 mil, which halacha we accept for 72 minutes. But it's a difficult, right? I think also, to not be crude here, but it depends if we're talking about urinating or not urinating in terms of the amount of time. What we're talking about here. Lehitz panot often doesn't just mean urinating. It means number twos as well, basically. Put it like that way. Okay. So that's referring to both. But I hear what you're saying. But either way, somebody who needs to go to the bathroom, well, these are the halachot. Anyway, I suggest we move on to something slightly different. People are optimistic. Okay, it's page 328. Okay. Sorry.
Very different.
You're talking about the whiskey or the halacha? The whiskey, of course. Priorities, right? Okay. So page 328. It's very different when you're not on Zoom, Peter. You see, you can actually taste the whiskey. It's not virtual. So
we have on Zoom. I have the whiskey.
The Zoom, you have the whiskey too. We don't. That's the thing. it's different experience.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Beseder. Okay, we're on page 328 here. Another important thing which we didn't really touch on previously when we discussed the Tilat Yadayim is washing hands actually before davening. We discussed the Tilat Yadayim in the morning. We didn't discuss doing the Tilat Yadayim before each tefillah. But it seems that this is already in the Gemara. And our name is going to be shouted out. So the word Tzurba Mirabanan actually appears in this Gemara, which we're going to see in source 7. It appears a few times in Shas. Very exciting. Amarle Ravina Rava says, Ravina to Rava, Chazi Mar, Hai Tzurba Mirabanan. Look at that Tzurba Mirabanan. What does Mirabanan actually mean? Torah, they translate as Torah scholar, meaning that it usually means like young scholar. Look at that young rabbi. Look at that young scholar. De'ata Mima'arava. Look at that man who came Mima'arava from the west. Now they're living in Bavel. When they say the west, they mean Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
Va'amar, and said. So this scholar from this Israeli guy comes to town and tells us, right? Those Israelis. Misha en la'mayim lirchotz yadav. Somebody who doesn't have water to wash their hands before tefillah, what should they do? Mekaneach yadav ba'afar u'v'tzrar u'v'kismit. They can wipe their hands with earth on a rock, or on some sort of chunk of wood, right? Sliver of wood. He says, is this really true? What is these chidushim they're bringing from Israel? You're supposed to do Netilat Yadayim. And if you don't have Netilat Yadayim before tefillah, you can just wipe your hands on a rock. Amarle, Rava replies to Ravina, Shapir ka'ama. Yes, that's correct. He said the correct psak. Mi'ktiv archatz b'mayim. Does it say that I will wash with water? No. But nikayon ktiv. The whole objective is to be clean. Kol mididamanki, as long as your hands are clean. In other words, if you don't have water, you can wipe your hands on a surface. Rav Chisda would curse somebody who would be constantly going out the way because there was no running water in here, and they running all the way to looking for water to wash their hands when it was time for tzlota, when it's time for davening. In other words, if there's no water readily available, wipe your hands on something. Don't go crazy looking to do Netilat Yadayim before davening. Okay. However, this is only regarding certain parts of davening. Lahani mili, these words, says the Gemara, is only likriyat shema, when it's reading shema. Avalit tefillah, when you're doing actual tefillah, which typically what immediately follows kriyat shema. Mahadar, then you do have to look for water. You're not supposed just to wipe your hands, you're supposed to actually look for water to wash your hands beforehand. Va'ad kama, how far, when it comes to tefillah, do you have to look for water before you say, it's all right, I don't have to actually wash my hands? Ad parsa, a parsa, 4 mil, okay? So 4 kilometers. So that's a bit further than just from Beit Yehuda to the sink.
It's a long way.
So it's a long way, but that shows you that the centrality of what washing hands before tefillah was supposed to be. That if you're on a journey, you're on your camel or whatever it is, and you think I can daven now, but I know the next town is just a couple of mil away. You're not allowed to daven. You have to wait till you get to the next town, wash your hands there, and then daven. Right? It was a central part of the consciousness of davening, which many of us, I think, we've lost. You had to wash your hands to daven. It was like basics. And ad parsa, right? So if you know 3 kilometers away there's a town, you're not allowed to daven now. You have to keep going on the highway to the next, right? You're on a train or whatever, or you're on a bus, and the next petrol station is 20 minutes away. Then maybe you have to wait. You're not allowed to daven now, because it was a question about how you calculate it with cars. Do you go by Zman or you go by distance? But we won't discuss that now. But the idea is it was a central part of tefillah, washing hands.
Because that's further than the distance that you have to go out of your way to daven with a minyan, because that's usually considered
right
just 1 mil.
1 mil, right? Minyan is 1 mil, 18 minutes, right? And then there are those that say 18 minutes by car as well. So nowadays it's by car as well. So that kind of, unless you're really out the way. But you see here parsa, right? So again, the idea was that you're supposed to really wash your hands. So how much more so than it's just a question of, I can go into Beit Yehuda, I can quickly wash my hands on the left, right? But says the Gemara, V'hani mili, these words that you have to go a parsa is only lakamei, in front of him. So if ahead in the direction you're anyway traveling, there's water, you have to go up to a parsa. Avola achure, but to turn backwards, afilu mil eno chozer, right? it's not even up to a mil. Umina. But from this we learn, mil hu de'ena chozer. You don't have to go back a kilometer. Ha pachot mil chozer. But if you just passed a petrol station less than a kilometer away, chozer, you have to go back, to turn the car around and go back. And that's the psak. So if 4 kilometers ahead or 1 kilometer back, basically, in order to wash your hands before tefillah. Such is the importance of washing one's hands before tefillah. Kind of it's good mussar, this Gemara, as well as being halacha. It's like it's mussar.
So assume you're in a place like in the Midbar when they were walking 40 years in the desert. And there wasn't water everywhere they went.
Yeah, it was.
Well, let's look at today in today's environment. When you're walking in the desert today, there may not be water everywhere. So the question is: does that mean if you can't find water within that space of time, you can daven without washing your hands?
Well, it's enough to wipe them without washing,
yes. on sand or rock.
Yes.
Does it have to be, when they say a parasat, sorry, does that mean you have to know that there's water within a parasat, or does that mean you have to go look for water?
It means you have to keep going a parasat.
Even if you don't know.
If you don't know, I think if you know that there's not going to be, you can daven now.
Okay.
But I think if you don't know, you're
So that's
supposed to
the
go ahead.
desert question, if
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Okay. So this is actually brought la halacha though on the Shulchan Aruch. So let's look over the page. Page 329, source 8. This is how the Shulchan Aruch actually codifies this halacha. This idea of washing hands. Now, let's just cast our minds back. Remember, when we discussed the Netilat Yadayim in the morning, we said that one of the reasons for Netilat Yadayim is hachana l'tefillah. It's machlokes in the Rosh and the Rashba. I think it was like 2 books ago. Ruach Ra was also there. Like the Chabanikim like that one. So but the Yakas among us,
Affects everybody.
affects everybody. I told you what Ezra Bick told me.
Yeah.
But the Rambam used to believe in shadim. No, there used to be shadim in the world until the Rambam Paskan. There's no such thing as shadim. Then they all flew away. So, good line. Anyway, sorry. I've been in Gush for too long. That's the problem. It's like I say every time I tell somebody I don't believe in shadim, a shade dies. It's like fairies.
I was telling the Arabic interpreter about.
You were telling your Arabic interpreter. Sorry, that's.
I was telling your Arabic interpreter about the Rambam this morning.
Okay.
And showed her the how it's written in Arabic, and she's from Egypt.
What? Why are you trying to interpret to an Arab?
No, yeah, an Arab who was interpreting from Syria, Christian Syria, and she said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "Oh, that sounds vaguely familiar." Musab bin Maimon.
Right, there you go.
Al-Qurtubi.
Very good. Okay, let's see the Shulchan Aruch inside though in this regard. So we discussed that one of the reasons was hachana l'tefillah. And remember, let's cast your minds back, we said that if there's a gap between waking up in the morning and going to shul, then one should wash their hands again when they get to shul, and if they're not sure that their hands are clean, and then make the Netilat Yadayim not when they wake up in the morning, but when they get to shul. So that's an important one. So if you know that you're going to
make the bracha later or wash and make the bracha?
Wash without a bracha, and then make the Netilat Yadayim, but when you get to shul, then the Ashayat and the bracha are there. But look at source 8. So that was like if you know that you're going to be touching your shoes or whatever on the car, touching whatever's dirty. If you know you can wash your hands, like because guard your hands is different. I might walk to shul this short, so but I feel like whatever.
When you walk in the premises, you have to say it.
Yes. But look at source 8. Okay. Depends which way I go. So, source 8. Rachatz yadav shacharit v'yitziach dato. Somebody washed their hands and they were distracted, right? So they don't know if they kept their hands clean. Tzrichim netilah l'tefillah. You have to rewash when you get to shul before you daven. Im yesh lo mayim, if he has water. Afal pi she'eni yodeh lahem shum lichloch. So this is mussar for us. Even if you don't know that your hands are dirty, you're just not sure, then you still have to wash them before davening. V'lo yivarach, without a bracha, because you already made a bracha, right? V'im ein lo mayim mezumanim. If there's no ready water available, ein tzarich lachzar v'litol. You don't have to rewash your hands. So again, if there's no water readily available, okay? So that's important. Hagar, as the Ramah, v'afilu hayu yadav moluch lachot, but not lam l'tefillah. Even if they were dirty, this is fascinating. Even if they were dirty and you wash them for tefillah, einam avarach. You don't make a bracha. So this is what the Ramah paskins. The Gra was more militant about making a bracha for hachana l'tefillah, but the Ramah paskins, which most of us do, is that we don't make a bracha, even if you know your hands are dirty. Before Shacharit Mincha Ma'ariv, you don't wash you don't make another bracha. You already made a bracha in the morning. You going to say something, Peter?
Yeah, so they're talking about this is clearly a cleanliness issue. Well, it seems to be a cleanliness issue and not a Tumah and Tahara issue.
Correct.
So I'm talking about touching his shoes and all that kind of stuff, touching unclean places, but the hands aren't really dirty.
The issue is in their hands. The issue is if their hands touch something dirty. So we say an uncovered part of the body or something dirty. That's why I say yadav meluch lachot. It's not yadav tmeot. It's yadav meluch lachot, physical dirt.
So what? But you look at your hands and they're clearly not dirty.
That's your judgment. Sorry.
What do you scrub up?
I'm so happy not my. Oh wait, I was gonna say I'm happy not my obstetrician. If that, but then I realized.
You know the amount of alcohol gets
Sorry.
on my hands.
Sorry, if you just do by the looking test.
No, there's a lot of alcohol goes on my hands. And the next question was.
Say that. So the question, maybe alcohol is substitute.
Alcohol. So if it's not, so it's clearly not. So if it's not a Tumah Tahara issue, then the Tumah then you have to use water. Okay, Tumah you have to use water, and then twice, whatever. And then the 3 times, I don't know. And then
so here it's possible, but like before I personally do 1 time before.
So what does it work like? Soap and water is okay.
I do with the kli,
yeah,
but I do 1 time.
Why not just regular?
But sometimes I'm not so militant about the kli.
So
I know militant's the right word. I'm not so muck pit. That's the
okay. So soap and water.
Yeah, much better sounding.
Soap and water. If you're not making a bracha, then really just
because once you follow the Ramah against the Gra, you're not doing a netila mamash. You're doing a
and then alcohol.
Then there's a question. But at the end of the day, the original takana was through was essentially through water. Yeah.
There's also Masorah, but the whole thing is also partly Masorah, how we wash is part of the tradition of what we do, as opposed to using alcohol, which is just something you spill in your boiling thing.
It's but again, it's part of tradition. It's that's the ultimate way. We saw that only if one doesn't have water's the ideal way. There's something about mime as well. It's not just because mime is supposed to be more efficient. And it's true without, what do you call we call alcohol in Israel.
Your hands are
they're pretty
cleaner.
good.
They're less contaminated. They're microbiologically cleaner with alcohol than with water.
Right, but it's not all about what's microbiologically cleaner at the end of the day. There's the ma'aser of netilat yadayim.
I don't need source, but I'm assuming it still ties back to everything that same as mikveh and everything else is with water. And there's more to it than just washing your hands. I mean, I
agree. I think it's what the mime represents as well. I agree with you.
Except that they're talking about lechlet.
They are talking about it's lichluch, but the takana was through water. Look at the last bit though. Vav ha'amed b'tefila v'nizkar shinaga b'makom tzunaf. What if you're already in the middle of your amid and then you realize, oi, my hands are dirty, or I touched something dirty? Then you don't have to in the middle of your tefillah go wash your hands. Die b'nikayon afar tzurot. Right, it's enough to wipe them, right, or something. Right, rub them on the wall, right? Not on the person in front of you, not recommended, but
nikayon afar. Rub your hands on the dirt.
Nikayon afar, right?
They'll be dirty.
Sorry.
Rub your hands on the ground.
It's a good right.
It's the same way.
We're talking here. You've got something sticky in your hand. I think that's the idea. But you're right. But also, I think there's a certain relativity to it. Relativeness. That's the right word, not relativity.
Abrasive in inverted commas. So the same way as if the forms of castering of as metal object is you're plunging into hard dirt, not the stuff, but because of
especially the contrast.
The contrast between the roughness of the dirt will take out some of the.
I don't think we mean here putting it in the soil.
No,
afar. We don't mean the dust literally. I think it means the ground. It's interesting. Something that you can
hard surface.
Yes. Okay. Baruch Hashem is running water in Mizrahi, so none of us have this issue. Okay. The Seder. Okay, preparing one's soul. Okay, as we spoke about, the bathroom spoke about Tilat Yadayim. What about mental or spiritual preparation? So the 5th perek, the beginning of the 5th perek of Bracha is really dedicated to this. Right, it's called Ein Omdin. All the things that you're not supposed to stand in tefillah with your mindset in a different way. So source 9, beginning of the 5th perek of Bracha, it's Mishnah. Ein Omdin hitpalel ela mitoch koved rosh. You should only stand with literally heaviness of head, what they call gravity, right? Okay, of submission. Okay. Chasidim Rishonim hayu shohin shaha achat mitpalim. So the original Chasidim, the pious ones, would stand for an hour and meditate before tefillah. Kadei sheyechavnu liban la'avim shebashamayim, that they can have kavanah to their Father in heaven. Says the Gemara, Minahani Mili. How do we know all this? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak mehacha, from this pasuk in Tehillim. Ivdu et Hashem, not besimcha. The other pasuk, beyira, v'gilu bir ada. Serve God in fear, in awe. V'gilu and rejoice, gila, right? Bir ada, in trembling, right? So the idea that there's supposed to be a certain mindset when going into tefillah, right? It's all very good to do all the, do all the washing and stuff, but ultimately the mindset is important as well. Now, what does it mean? How do you serve God in fear and rejoice in trembling? It's a bit of an oxymoron. The Gemara, we'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's just discuss as the Gemara continues in source 10 over the page 330. Tana Rabbanan, rabbis taught us, Ein omdin hitpalel lo mitoch atzvut. You're not supposed to daven when you're sad. So don't get really upset. Don't have a broigus or whatever right before davening. Happens sometimes, not here, of course. Lo mitoch atzlut, not in laziness. Lo mitoch schot, shouldn't be doing it in laughter, right? In lightheadedness. Lo mitoch sicha, never happens here, right? Not in conversation, right? You're not mid-conversation supposed to go daven. Lo mitoch kalut rosh, or lightheadedness, of being frivolous, right? Lo mitoch dvarim b'teilim, or not in just in the middle of doing nonsense, right? Things with no purpose. Ella mitoch simcha shel mitzvah, with simcha of the mitzvah. So how is it that we're supposed to have, koved rosh on the one hand and simcha shel mitzvah on the other hand? How do we resolve this? Even the phrase from Tehillim itself, gilu bir ada, rejoice in trembling, is a bit of an oxymoron. So they bring here the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah. He discusses it. How it is on the one hand, you're supposed to be happy, but also serious. So let's look at the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah in source 11. It says as follows: She'afal pi she'etzel basav radam hayira v'asimchem davar v'hafcho. Even though for humans, fear and rejoicing are polar opposites. She'b'shah she'ha'adam mefached mizulato omen yirtav v'doeg. When somebody's scared, you withdraw from them. You're deterred. That's not the case when it comes to God. Aval HaKadosh Baruch Hu einenu ken. That's not the case with God. Adrabah, on the contrary. I like to translate Adrabah en contraire, right? I tried to put that in Rav Bick's book. There was a line in the book where I put Adrabah en contraire. He said, I'm not translating this into French, and he put a line through it. I was upset with that, but whatever. Adrabah, en contraire. Adam, right? En contraire. There you go. Adam mitbonen begadluto. When a person contemplates God's greatness, v'yareh mipanav, and fears God's presence, yismach, then he, as a result, is happy, v'yagil, and rejoices, b'otah yirah, in his awe of God. Mipnei shebe'emtzaita mitorer lekayem hamitzvot, because it's a medium through which one is awakened to fulfill God's mitzvot. V'sas v'ne'alas b'kiyumah. Such a person rejoices with their fulfillment. Because he knows that the schar, one's reward, and basically for his actions are up to God. Knowing who your maker is something which is it's scary, but it's supposed to excite you that you know what the right path is. That's what Rabbeinu Yonah tells us here. And in such a rejoicing, such happiness, that's why in one pasuk it says, Ivdu et Hashem b'yira, but pasuk acher, another pasuk elsewhere in Tehillim, it says, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. It means ta'avdu et Hashem b'yira, serve God out of awe, uv'otah ha'yira, and through that awe, tismachu v'tagilu ba, you'll rejoice and be happy with it, right? So again, it's the idea that yira leads to simcha when it comes to God, not so with other fears. Okay.
Fear is a bad terrible.
Fear is terrible translation. Or is the translation, right? It's not. We're not scared of God. We're not frightened. It's an awe which leads. It engenders simcha when you know that you're on the right path, basically.
You can write back to the people who did the
okay.
translation.
Sorry.
Right back to the people.
I see. Okay. Got it.
You're a translator.
Am I? I'm an armchair translator. Okay.
Tzurba.
Okay, let's see how the Shulchan Aruch codifies some of these halachot. So it's interesting, right? The Mishnah itself brought about the Hasidim Rishonim, right? So the early Hasidim would wait an hour before davening, Shah Achat. But in fact, the Shulchan Aruch actually codifies this. So if you're worried that Pesukei Zimra wasn't long enough, you've got grounds here to make it longer. Look at source 12. It says the Shulchan Aruch. Yeah, do you want to hear this? Up to you. Yasheh Shah Achat Kodem Sheyakum Litpalel. Person should wait 1 hour. We'll discuss literally or not. Before he wakes up, before he gets up to daven. right before starting to daven. Kadesh yechaven libo lamakom. V'ashar achad achar tefillah, 1 hour after davening. Shelo teinim et alav k'masoi, so it shouldn't seem like it's a burden on the person. Shema mahir that you're rushing out, right? You've got to wait for Jack Feldman's announcements. Okay, you can't rush out. Only for 7:30. You're right. Bet. Lo ya'amod lehit palel ela be'ema v'hachna'a. But also you can only daven out of ema. Now ema here, I'm sorry, I can't really translate with awe, Peter. This I'm gonna have to translate with some sort of fear. Or they try to say reverence. Okay. V'hachna'a, humility. I don't know if it's humility. It's more like subjugation. Lehikana, to be subjugated. Lo mitoch, to understand who's above you. Lo mitoch chok v'kalat rosh, not to do laughter or right, frivolity, right, submission. Okay, that's a good word, submission, right? Udvarim batalim and nonsense. Lo mitoch kas, not through anger, right? No broiguses right before davening. Ela mitoch simcha, only through joy. Kagon divrei tanchumin shel Torah, like when one says the tanchumin of the Torah, right? Over the page, if it will turn. My computer will, no, it's on strike. Okay, here we go. Samuch gulat mitzrayim, like those who mentioned by Egypt, right? I.e. the bracha before of Gal Yisrael, right? Oh, samch tehillah David, or with tehillah David, Ashrei shekatuf ba, which it says, son Yerev Yaseh, that God does the will of his people, of who fear him. Shomeh Hashem et kol avav, that he guards all those who love him. Okay, so again, what we're seeing here is that Psukei de Zimra is a little bit of, and also Kriyat Shema is a little bit of this ein omdim. Is this hachanan, this preparation for tefillah. Perhaps we do fulfill that obligation through Psukei de Zimra in some respects, and maybe even through the bracha of Kriyat Shema. We'll discuss in a moment. Sif Gimel. Ein omdin hitpalel mitoch din. Any lawyers in the room? You're not supposed to daven in the middle of a case, in the middle of din. V'lo mitoch halacha shelo yehei libo tarud ba. Not in the middle of a halacha shir, so that your heart shouldn't be troubled with what the halacha is. Only once you've received the psak, once you've got to a conclusion. Because again, what's the problem? You're going to be bothered thinking about the din, thinking about the court case, thinking about the halacha that you don't know the answer to. Only when it's hapsukah, once it's paskend, can you daven. Haga as the Ramah. Nami kolom mitoch simcha. That's also like in the midst of joy, when you finally get the answer. Keep kudei Hashem yisharim v'samchei lev, right? That the instructions of God basically are right. And they make the heart happy. So once you get the halacha, you're happy. Right? You come out of Mashiach happy, right? Because halacha, right? I hope. We try. Okay. Sha'a achat, right? We said the Hasidim, right? And that's not just why they start in Chabad Kimberley at 10 o'clock on Shabbos. It's not just because the Hasidim do Sha'a achat. Is it literally Sha'a achat, 1 hour, that these Hasidim would do before tefillah? They actually spend an hour before, an hour after tefillah. Where did they work? What's the answer?
They don't.
They don't. Oh, I was going to say they didn't. You said in the present tense. Okay. They don't. Okay. They didn't work. So there are those that say, firstly, this only applied to very special individuals, and everyone else, a small amount of time was enough.
It would seem like it should be.
Magen Avraham brings this. Yes? What are you going to say?
You think it'd be the other way around.
Explain.
Well, the special people don't need it. It's only everyone else that needs it.
So what's the explanation? How do you understand it?
Davening for us.
I don't know.
Davening for us, maybe, or just there on the level that they could do that. Or for most of us to sit for an hour, our concentration may not get better. Might get, sadly, it might get worse, right? Okay, yeah.
Then you get davening on the focus.
Ramon spoke yesterday about, I was talking about in the panels, it spoke about the difference between, we're talking about educational challenges in the Dati Lumi world. Spoke about just in general across the world, educating kids today that once upon a time the concentration span was 40 minutes. And now they say the concentration span of a teenager is 3.5 minutes. So times have changed. So, okay. So Dafka, it would be worse if you were to wait an hour, some of us, rather than be better. Yes.
When I went recently, we did a tour of the Bells Shul.
Oh my goodness, what a long Psukei de Zimra. I was there once for Shabbos. Yeah.
No, it was just a tour by an Australian guy who's a Bells Chassid. Anyway, he talked about the Bells Rebbe and how he prepares for davening. They said they never know when he's going to turn up. He often takes hours and hours of preparation, And then when he comes and davens, he davens everything in like 5 minutes and then leaves. Anyway, I didn't know what to make of that.
Interesting. So maybe he is one of these Yechidim, which the Magen Avraham is going to talk about here in source 13. So let's just see inside in source 13. Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah hachich ma Gemara. Talmidei Rabbeinu approved from the Gemara. The afagav to whole makom karina sha'a. Even though we say an hour, perush, it means shamu etet. It means only it doesn't mean literally an hour. It means a period of time. Like hacha here, perusho sha'achat, which name asabayom. It actually means a 12th of the day. Zeh lechasidim. That's only for the Hasidim, right? For the Belzer Rebbe. But for the masses, the sha'ar for the rest of the people, dai b'shamu etet. It's just a small amount of time is enough. Prima Gardim suggests in source 14 that we, in fact, we don't just do a sha'anu etet, a small amount of time. Our Psukei Zimra is part of the preparation of tefillah. Right? We saw there isn't too much of a source for Psukei Zimra in the Gemara when we discussed it. It doesn't appear so much. Ashrei does, but not much else, right? And the Prima Gardim suggests, well, maybe this is the hachana for tefillah, the Psukei Zimra. In source 14, Mihu says the Prima Gardim, Mihu anamid palim v'korem Psukei Zimra b'kodem. We first recite Psukei Zimra. Shir Psukei Zimra chatzi sha'a. Look at that musar. How long would it take them to say Psukei Zimra? Half an hour, right? Not 11 minutes. V'achar ken, and afterwards, brachot the Kriyat Shema. V'shohem ma'at kodem sheyatchil Psukei Zimra. One waits a little bit before starting Psukei Zimra. Have a karav l'shah kamach hasidim. Then it's basically an hour. So he says, in theory, it's good musar fast, but in theory you do reach that amount of time. Aruch Shulchan says no. That really the time one waits must be before all of the tefillah, and therefore we don't really do this. We just think for a few minutes, and this is how the Piskei Teshuvot bring in source 15 over the page. Umikol makom, nonetheless, says the Piskei Teshuvot, mudgash b'sifra Yira Musar, and the Sfarim of Yira and Musar, it's stressed, emphasized. You should daven and concentrate before tefillah, but gadlut haboreh v'shiflut atzmo. A bare minimum before davening, says the Piskei Teshuvot, you should think about the greatness of God and the lowliness of man, of oneself. Dahainu, what should one practically do? Sheyeshev ma'at domem, before tefillah, just sit even for a couple of minutes quietly. V'yachshav b'gadlut haboreh, think about the greatness of God, v'nifla'otav v'noratav, and his miracles and wonders, v'griut ufchitut atzmo be'erech bo'o. And the deficiencies and lowness of man compared to his creator. Why don't you like it?
How can you compare yourself with God? It's not comparable.
Sorry, you can't. You're supposed to feel infinitesimally smaller.
You can't put yourself in a
okay.
It's not a comparison.
I hear what you're saying, but that's how what he recommends, how he fulfills this. Okay, Beseda. Okay, I'm going to ask you the following. So that was about the sha'achat. We do this, halacha yomit. David Waisman's been helping me out a lot because the Bachurim are now finished and we're in the Chol HaMoed of Bachurim. So I appreciate David's help with the Halacha Yomit. But are you allowed to say this Halacha right before Mariv? I know you're all so engrossed when they say the Halacha Yomit between Mincha and Mariv.
No.
Sorry, so engrossed, right? But what about if he wants to get carried away and the minyan is about to begin? Is there an issue with davening right or learning right before tefillah? Forget that. What about one who has to do a chavruta before shacharit? So they don't have time really to prepare oneself mentally before tefillah because they're learning before tefillah. Is that okay? So the Mishnah Berurah says it might be okay. It might be preparing. So let's see how the Mishnah Berurah discusses it in source 16. Psukkah. So we said you're allowed only through a halacha psukkah. Only if you reach the end of the halacha, then you can be calm going into tefillah. She'ein ba'iyun, if there's no in-depthness to it. Shalom machloket, no machloket. Kadei shelo yitared al yedei zeh b'tefillah, that your mind isn't troubled by it during davening. You've got to reach the end of a halacha before davening. No pressure on me to finish the shir on time then. Umikol makom, nonetheless, im asak b'pilpul halacha v'hitchilu hatzibur hitpalel imahem. Somebody who is in the middle of learning and then suddenly, wow, time to daven, you can daven with them, right? Ubefrat achshav, especially nowadays, she'ein mechuvanim kol kach b'tefillah. Unfortunately, our kavanah is not so great for tefillah now in this day and age anyway. V'lo his hiru ela lechatchila shelo yaseh b'pilpul kodem tefillah. It was only lechatchila argument anyway, and therefore somebody who's learning before tefillah and the tzibur start, you're allowed to join in the davening with them. You're not allowed to go, wait, I have to walk out and daven b'chidat now because I'm in the middle of my source, basically. We're not in that mindset where our davening, our kavanah is so pristine. Anyway, Isaac, you happy with that? So don't have to rush the shir, basically. If I stop in the middle, it's okay. All right. Sorry?
That's the shul.
They have to rush the shul. So Yaakov Yosef concurs that. We won't read it inside due to time. Okay, in Source 17, he brings the same as Mishnah Berurah. Another minhag, preparing for tefillah, is to give tzedakah. This already appears in the Gemara. Let's look on Source 18. Gemara Baba Batra brings this. Rabbi Elazar Yahiv Pruta La'ani V'Hadar Matzlei. Rabbi Elazar would give a pruta, right, just a few pennies to an ani, to a poor person, and then would daven. Amar, he said, Dichtiv, as it says in Tehillim, and even tzedek echse panecha. I literally, through justice, I will envision you basically, God. In other words, through tzedek, through tzedakah, is how we get close to God. Okay, and the Shulchan Aruch brings it as a tov, as a good thing to do in Source 19. Tov litin tzedakah kodem tefillah. It's good to give tzedakah before davening. Okay, even though it's good to give tzedakah collectors are not allowed to distract the tzibur. Okay, including in our own shul as well. So even for the own shul thing, don't distract people davening. Source 20, it's Mefurish Mishnah Berurah. There are places where they have the custom to collect money during laning, but it's not proper. The Mavatlin al Yidei Zem Lishma Kriyat Torah, it stops people listening to laning. Va'aniyat Baruch et Hashem. I saw there's a sign from the current senior Rabbi Danny Mervis, still, right? Hasn't been changed. It still has the president as well. Where it says, please, it tells people, please don't to collect during davening.
Is that including Shabbat? It's collecting money during davening?
Sorry?
You're not collecting.
Sorry?
That's not during davening.
It might be Shalom Kahoga, and I'm not going to get into that. I'll join it.
That's being governed.
Wasn't that decided? We'll discuss afterwards. Okay. Say that it's not during, it's in between aliyot. Okay. Beseder. Okay, but don't blame me. I'm not getting it's the Mishnah Berurah. All right.
That's the explanation. So it says so that's why people give during Al Yashir, because that is the last time before tefillah when you can interrupt.
That's one reason. The other reason they give in Al Yashir is when they say the words ha'osher rakovod milfanecha, the osher, the riches with that iron, are God's, right? And therefore, in the schut that I'm giving, I'll also have osher.
That means you have to set it. Doesn't mean you have to physically put it in the footstep that time. You just have to
set it aside, right? As Art Scroll says, to set aside. Or true. Okay, we haven't got too long. I was hoping to finish the book today. We haven't. We can go on a little bit. We want to finish this and we'll just start the next book next time. We never finish a full paragraph. It's always the rule here, right? Because you guys bother me, or maybe I'm too slow, I don't know, or maybe we're just too ambitious to finish this in an hour. But we'll start this parak and I guess we'll finish it next time and start the new book next time. Is that okay? So let's talk about clothes for tefillah. Okay, so because we all have to turn up with our suit and jacket. I hear Mizrahi, you have to wear a jacket for on to daven from the Amud. Isaac, is that still the case? You have to wear a jacket for davening from the Amud? Or is that only on Shabbat? What? Danny's not here to. Depends. Sorry, it depends if Danny's in Israel or not as well, I think. But yeah, okay. It's all right.
It was Rabbi Branach.
It was Rabbi Branach who did it? Because the outside was today. Okay, got it. Okay, so let's discuss the relevance of wearing a hat and jacket for tefillah in general. Talking about not on Shabbat, just in general. The Gemara discusses the social norms of the time. So we're talking about, we're talking here that, the 3rd, 4th, 5th century Bavel. Okay, look at the following. Source 21, the Gemara Masechet Shabbat. Rava bar Rav Huna Rami Puzmakei Umatzlei. Rava bar Rav Huna would wear his special socks, his davening socks. Forget a hat, forget a jacket, he'd put on his puzmakei, his davening socks, okay? Forget having a hat, I've never seen a sign that says, you've got to wear these socks, Amar, he said, Hachon Likrat, okay? This is prepared to greet Yoshit Hashem, basically, Elokecha Yisrael. That's what Rava bar Rav Huna did. Rava, what did Rava do? Shadi Galime. He wouldn't put on his special socks. He would Shadi Galime. He would put on his cloak, his coat. Sorry? No. Ufachayade. And then he would put his hands together for davening. Umatzleim would daven. Amar, he would say, Ka'avda kame mare. This is how a slave is before his master. Slaves don't put special socks on. They put on their proper jacket and they put their hands together like an eved. Amr of Ashi, says Rav Ashi, who lived later than them both. Chazina Leila Rav Kahana. I saw Rav Kahana, ki ikatsara ba'alma, when there were terrible suffering in the world. Shadi glime ufacha yadei matzah. He would put his cloak on and put his hands together and daven. Amma, he'd say, after kame, sorry, take off. You're right. It's not on, off. In both these cases, off. You're right. Shade, so almost like lishloach, the take off, right? After kame mare. Again, like a servant. So again, it means not to put on. So you can quote this if you want. To take his coat off. Ki ikashlama, but when there was shalom, when there was peace, lavish umit kaseh, he would dafka get dressed. He would put himself in more clothes. Umit kaseh, cover himself. Umitatef, wrap himself up, right? Umatzeh and daven. Amma, he'd say, Hachon likrat elokecha Yisrael, prepare to greet your God Israel. So depending on the type of tefillah, he would dress differently, which is a fascinating way of looking at it. Rashi has a few details here. Why special socks? Why special socks? Look at Rashi in source 22. Noten in pilaot, right? They would put these special footwear on, chashuvim, special shoes, socks, basically. Footwear, velaz, I can't pronounce that, kalzuts, some sort of socks, okay? Shadi klima, why would he take his coat off? Mashlich edrotome alab, he would take his cloak off of him when it was a time of need. Why? Shalo yere'eka chashuv, so you wouldn't look important, right? We think you put your jacket on for tefillah, so you do look. The time of an eved davening, you take off your cloak. I don't want humility, right? I don't want to look important before God. I'm nothing. It's a fascinating way of looking at it. Ufacha yadeh, why would he bring his hands together? Chovek yadav ve'etzbotav, clasp his hands together, right? Martzir balaz in Old French, martzir, okay? Etzbot yad achat b'shniya, interlocking his fingers. Ka'adam hamitzta'eh me'emat rabbo, like somebody who's scared, like trembling or troubled due to the aima, the fear of his master. We'll stop there and we'll continue entire next time, Bezrat Hashem. And yep, next week too, to be continued. Shakoach, Ma'ariv time. So we finished the